Hi, I'm Dr. David Croto, Dean of the Seminary and School of Ministry at Columbia International University, and I am here with Dr. Mike Naylor, Professor of Bible. Dr. Naylor, the book of Revelation talks a lot about the end times, and people focus on that a lot when they're interpreting it. But what does Revelation tell us about Jesus?
Yeah, well, I think it's very natural to focus on some of those kind of questions because obviously we would love to know what's happening in the future that way. But what I think is so amazing about the book is that it is both and right from the outset, it's not only a book that comes from Jesus, as we find out in the very opening verses of the book, but also it's a book that's about Jesus. And from the opening chapter to the very end, through and through, it's about Jesus' role as the one who is bringing to completion God's plan for the future. And I think one of the things that really stands out to me in the book of Revelation is how John uses such a variety of images and titles to help us to understand who Jesus is. A lot of times when we think about the Gospels, we think about Jesus as a teacher. We think about him as a suffering servant, going to the cross, dying for us, rising from the dead. And Revelation still very much focuses on that as Jesus addresses the churches in chapters 2 and 3, as he's portrayed as the Lamb who was slain on our behalf, as he's the firstborn from the dead, the one who holds the keys here to life and death and has that authority. But it also talks about how Jesus, as the one who is the slain Lamb, is both lion and lamb, that he is the resurrected king. Beautiful scene in chapters 4 and 5 as John sees the one seated on the throne and then the lamb who's declared to be worthy to take the scroll from the one seated on the throne, to break its seals and to bring to completion God's plan.
Then what does Revelation tell us about following Jesus today?
I think Revelation really shows us, I think in many ways, what it means to be a follower of the Lamb. And there's this beautiful theme that emerges in the book of how Jesus is the one who bears witness to what God has done. He is the faithful witness. The people of God, whether we're talking about here specific people like Antipas, who's mentioned in the messages to the 7 churches, or to the 2 witnesses a little bit later on in the book, that the people of God likewise bear witness to what Jesus has done. And their victory is because of the victory of the Lamb. And so we as his people follow after him. We bear witness to what he has done, even to the extent of being willing to give up our lives if it should come to that, of remaining faithful. And one of the things that John develops in a couple different places in the book is this question of fidelity to Christ in the midst of a hostile culture, whether it's persecution, whether it is dealing with socioeconomic issues, cultural pressures, and false teaching that tries to bring people away from Jesus to conform to the world around. John calls us readers, calls us today to remain faithful to Jesus, to think carefully about our participation in this world, recognizing that we belong to the Lamb who is slain.
So Jesus in the book of Revelation, for no good reason, often neglected. So thank you for talking to us about that today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, gladly.